Hey guys, I think we're just about 30-40 seconds away from starting. Hi guys, we start, I think, what's the fourth session of the live stream from YI. Hope you're having a great time under lockdown. Without much ado, we'll start the talk. But before I start this one, there's something which I haven't told you all before, and which is that Thomas, who's the coach here, who's going to be taking the talk, was actually number 4 at the 2003 Optimist Worlds at La Palma. And that's information you have. I will be sending out his resume sometime during this meeting for everybody to have a look. And the topic for today is onshore tips before water. That is before you get onto the water, and of course the pre-start nutrition and stuff like that. So just in case you leave the session in the middle, I'd like to tell you that the topic for Tuesday at 10 o'clock is going to be skiff racing and tactics. And on Thursday will be laser heavy weather sailing by Miguel Andrade from Portugal. And the topic on Sunday, you can expect what weather, vagaries and weather, what to expect, tips and suggestions. Tom, you can start. Thanks very much.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm very happy to be able to talk to you again on that Sunday. I also hope you are all well, you're feeling good and healthy. And without anything else to add, I would just like to start. So please, as you can see, this is the first slide, a topic, onshore tips before water session, strength of the habit and pre-start preparation. And let's move to the first slide, please. Next one. I think all of you know, all of you feel it, no for sure, but all of you feel it that we sailors, we cannot just put our shoes in the bag and go wherever we want, because we unfortunately, sometimes unfortunately, we also have to take our equipment, which is not easy. Those of you that went to Abu Dhabi, were packing the containers, so you know how it looks. This is a little bit, when I'm traveling between places, it's a little bit logistically difficult theme. But if you are well prepared, you can do it smoothly and without bigger problems. And those are a couple of tips that I suggest if you will ever transport your boat on a trailer with a rib or just a boat. Take a look at those here tips, and maybe you can use them. So your boat and equipment is your treasure. Take good care of it, right? We discussed it already many times. And when is there more danger than while transportation? I've seen many transport arriving on the venue with a damage, like what the mast was broken or there was a big dent. Dent means, I hope you know what dent is. I don't know even how to. It's like a damage on the bottom, especially on the side of the boat, which was caused because the boat was not prepared. There was no cover. The straps were bad. There was no sponges, and that's so actually you want to arrive a week before regatta normally, right? And you think, yeah, we're gonna race, and then you unpack your stuff, and actually first thing you feel is like you're upset, you're stressed, you don't feel comfortable because your equipment is damaged. So always use good quality covers to secure the bottom, foils, and masts. Mast is particularly under danger during transportation, because any small puncture hit, it may destroy all the structure, because the carbon fiber doesn't like it. It's very flexible, it's very strong, but if you puncture it from the side, then all the structure starts to be more fragile. Cover every sharp or potential dangerous surface with sponge or other soft material. You can see the arrow, right? So there is a metal thing sticking out, but it's covered with a nice sponge, and then there is no danger then. Whatever happens, the sponge will cover, will help to prevent any damage. Use good quality straps for tightening and clean them from time to time. Clean them from time to time. Not many of the sailors that us clean their straps, but I found it, excuse me, quite useful, because when you use the cover not only for transportation, then if you wash the straps, they are just not making those black dirty spots on the cover. Tighten everything so it's not banging, right? Whenever you are in transport, all the trailer is moving, it's very nice to have it so tight, so every piece of the boat, like tillers, masts, but also sometimes the boat has something in like boom, right? For 70s normally drive with the boom inside, so the boom is banging there if you not tighten it properly. Care also for the rib. I know that it's very, sailors don't want to do it because it's like coach's responsibility, and they are just so tired after finishing all their packing that they don't really want to take care of the rib. But if anything happens to the rib, you will not benefit from it. So it's also good to have at least like short glimpse, if it's good, if it's checked, if it's strapped, and so on. Check the straps and equipment position at every pit stop. That's a habit. That's a habit. So when you are stopping on the gas station, it's good also to check if everything is fine. Next, please. Next slide. Arriving at the venue. So it's good to stick to a couple of points when you arrive at the venue, and I can assure you that they will help you to actually feel comfortable wherever you find yourself. Is it Europe, is it India, or is it any other part of the world that you are actually going to? If you stick to those tips, it's going to help you to feel more comfortable. So after arriving to the event location, respect local law and customs, right? You are a guest. Stay polite at all means, and don't be too pushy. Cherish the place around you by using as little space as you really need. It's quite important, especially when you are landing in a location when the harbor, the club is not very massive. It's just like a small marina, and there are plenty of boats. So it's very nice if you see that boats are actually stocking their stuff close to the boat. They're not making a big mess. Keep the boat park clean. That's very, very important at all means. Cleaning routine tells a lot about the sportsman. Not only you care for the environment, but you give a good example as well. Most of the top sailors are cleaning after themselves, but you can still sometimes see that someone is like tossing papers on the ground, or tapes, or small pieces of lines, right? And then it lies in the grass or on the concrete, and it's just not the way we should be acting. Remember that you are a guest. And believe me, after 20 years of sailing and racing experience, I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that whenever you have a problem, whenever you want to discuss anything with the club authorities, or whatever you want to achieve, if you want to find a spot, or if you want to put a trailer somewhere, if you do it calmly, and if you do it with a smile, like if you do it with a nice plea, it will work. It will work. At least people around you will treat you as a normal person. If you start to be aggressive, if you start to be shouting, it will never help you, and you will just look silly instead of looking like a pro. Find your Zen spot. That's actually my personal tip, because you're gonna spend a lot of time in the harbor, right? You're gonna spend a lot of time there. You're gonna spend time in the boat, dressing, eating, preparing your equipment, many hours. So it's good to find actually your Zen spot in the club, that when you actually want to rest, when you actually want to focus, when you want to think about a little bit about your things for the next day, or what you're going to do now, it's good to have that. At least I'd like to have my personal spot. And that spot is not, I'm not talking about having a very open chat and be very like, hey, hello, and to everybody. I'm more like saying your particular place where you can take a deeper breath and think about what's going to happen next. Next slide, please. Rigging. Oh, rigging. It's a dirty, dirty task every time you arrive on. I mean, there are some classes where rigging is quite nice and simple. Like I would compare it to, for example, RS6. You take a board out of the covers, put the sail on, and after 1 or maybe 2 hours, you're good. But some of the classes, like for 70, Nakra, 49er, it's quite a task in front of you. So normally it takes a day to rig the boat, buy groceries, and install in the apartment. Those 3 pieces of puzzle are crucial for proper functioning. So we're going to talk a little bit about good habits and priorities after that. So those 3 things which I've mentioned, they are the basic priorities. So place to sleep, food, and your equipment, right? So these are the things you have to settle first to feel a little bit more comfortable and think about next day. This is also personal advice, but I really strongly suggest you try to stick to it, because it's going to help you in many more things if you're going to implement that tip. So while you rig, those 2 now, while you rig, be precise but not phlegmatic. And next one is prioritize things and do the jobs necessary to go on the water and sail in the first place. Whatever job is there to be done extra, you will have plenty of time in the next days to make it right. So you're gonna hear it on the next and see it on the next slides, I hope, but I will just shortly explain what I mean. Is that some sailors like to arrive on the spot of the venue and then spend 2-3 days. I was the same, really. Believe me, I was there, I was the same. So I wanted to have everything just perfect. Everything brand new, everything just polished. And then I was able to sail. But at some point I realized that it's not good. It's not good because whenever you arrive a week before racing, right, before regatta, so every day on the water matters. Everywhere on the water, every day on the water matters, because you can check the wind, you can check the current, you can check the boat, you can build confidence about your trim, and so on and so on. You can go for racing with other people, because normally people do racing right before the event starts. They're gonna do training races with like a training camp. So it's very good to actually do things which you have to do and go on the water, and then after the water session, keep doing what you want to improve. If there is any, pick a grass spot to rig the mast. Many times or so, mast lying on the concrete, it's not how it should be done. If you want, and I strongly advise it as well, it's a very good thing to buy cradles. By cradles, I mean it's a very thin platform on 2 legs, right? And you have 2 of them, 1, 2, and you put mast on it. It's above the ground. Nothing, no dirt touches it. It doesn't scratch because it's lying almost in the air. So it's very good. It's a very good idea. And you can travel with them every time. You can put them in the rib when you pack your stuff, and you can have them everywhere, because they can just travel with you wherever you go. And this is like just a wooden piece. If you have always prepare a spare rig. In unlucky scenario, when you break the mast, you can easily swipe it then and still go back for remaining races. I was unfortunate only once, to have to do it. And I was lucky enough that my coach, because I was a beginner and I broke the mast, and instead of coming very, very stressed on the shore and start to rigging the new equipment, I just put aside the broken one, put the new one in, and I was able to go still for the last race, which is sometimes that one race which you can sail because of that prepared rig is enough to get you to the gold fleet and so on. So your unluck is not a big thing. It just happens. So it's like one race. right? But on the second, you can go. But imagine that you are breaking a mast in the first race of the day and you have 4 or 3, and then you lose all 3. Now then you can already pack and go home, right? Because you will not be able to do anything with 3 DNFs. Oh, sorry, DNS did not start, right? Next slide, please. Measurements and trim. How often do you hesitate? Which setting should you race with? It's a very common question, trouble, problem for sailors. Like they don't make it in a way that they feel comfortable before regatta. So my advices are as follows. Connected to rigging process, so that's a little bit explained before. Every day on the water counts. The one more day it can give you extra confidence and straighten doubts. Sometimes at one day, like if you feel that there is something missing in the light wind condition set, but you can go on the water because your equipment is already done. So you can go, you can sail, and you can say, okay, this is it. I want to say, this is fine. This is good set, it's fast. I feel comfortable. If you don't go on the water, then that doubt, that feeling of unease is still there. And you don't know actually how to deal with it when the racing comes. Final and best trim sets are so-called bases for each type of possible condition. So light, medium light, how many you want, but maximum, I would say maximum 5 bases should be written down and ready at least 2 days before racing starts. You can print them and laminate to have it in your life jacket while afloat, right? You don't have to remember all the time the numbers. If you have a bad memory for numbers, or you don't want to put too much effort in remembering those numbers, like how many turns do I have to do, what pins and so on, you can just, if you make all the sets on the paper, like this is for light, this is for medium, where I'm good with that strong wind set, right? So you make ticks, good, and then you laminate it and put it in your life jacket. So whenever there's a change of conditions on the water, like from light to medium, you don't have to hesitate. You just put see on your paper, right? And it's okay, and everything is clear. So no stress. Measurements have to be very precise always. Example, how you can learn to trim well if your water feelings, so what you actually feel on the water, how the boat plays, is it pointing, is it going fast, can you bear off and accelerate, and so on and so on. If those feelings does not match setup expectations, so by that I mean you are making some changes, right? You're making changes on the turnbuckles, you're tightening the shrouds, you're making the mast more bended, and in the end you think, okay, I like it, we like it, I like it, we like it, it's good, now it's good, right? And then you come on the shore and you find out that one shroud is 5 millimeters longer than the other one because of the wrong turns. So everything that you actually worked, all your trim session, is, you can throw it away because it's just not as it should be. So then you're missing it. So you went on the water, but you didn't gain from it. On the racing day, put trust. That's quite an issue, and sometimes people don't still, even though that you have those numbers put, right, and you know which one you want to sail in which conditions. On the racing day, you know that the weather forecast will be 10 knots, but you still hesitate. Don't. Put trust, believe in your trim basis, and don't experiment too much, especially during regatta. It's not the time. That's not the time for it, exactly. Focus on weather and gather other intel. So you've put enough effort and time before the racing, before regatta, to build up those sets, right? So now they are as they are, and you can maybe sometimes like adopt a little bit, like slightly, but don't make it completely, don't make big changes, don't experiment, don't treat regatta as you should actually find something very special. No, it's not the time then. Then you should believe in the set and find whatever you can from the informations around you. So the wind, current, clouds coming, and so on, because that will help you. Even if the boat is not perfect, it will still help you to race in the good way, to be in the front, to find the good shifts and so on. The trim is usually as good as you think it can be. True. Because I've felt many times, and I saw many of my friends sailing on the same set, same exact set, in very almost the same weather conditions. And one time they were like extremely fast, and the other time they were like so. So it's here, right? So sometimes it's just here that, again, you believe in what you have and you're going to push it. You're going to just go with it. And then suddenly the boat reacts to your mental positive approach, and it's just going in the way you want it to. And if you feel uneasy, like, oh no, it's not going, and it will not go. It will not be fast. Okay, next slide, please. Notes. Question: do you remember what you had for dinner on Sunday a month ago? Do you? I don't. So it's the same with your thoughts, ideas, measurements, suggestions, mental improvements. Everything is the same as with that dinner a month ago. If you don't write them down, they will perish at some point, which means that some of your precious effort and hard work will be for nothing. Example of those thoughts that they're gonna just float away if you don't write them down. Today, in wavy conditions, when we tightened the forestay, the boat started to react better, and we could point more with the same speed. Or, I should flip the buttons during the jibe. Or, we have to prepare the spare equipment bag and mixed water for hydration. Or, Jack has to give back the GPS tracker after racing. And again, for example, you have the regatta, right, going on, and you will remember about the tracker, for example, but then you will not write it down. So you will not write it down. And on the 5th day, because there is a protest going on, there is a notice board full of communications, and you are very tired, so you are already, your focus is gone. And suddenly you forget about giving back the tracker, and you are losing 5-10 points because of that simple mistake. So your all day effort, all your sailing, or your pushing is still punished with 10 more points because of that mistake. So it's very good to have a checklist, to write it down. Many of sailors, especially those from Mumbai already, where I am staying, already not seen that. This is my notebook. And if you see the notebook in the picture, it's the same notebook I have now. I started to write in it in 2013, and I still have it. I can show you, for example, when we were in Abu Dhabi, I also made some notes in that particular notebook, and they look like this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is beauty. This is pure, the best information which we acquired as a team in 49er fleet. That's particular for 49er, but we also did a lot of information. I have the second note for weather, which we actually did acquire by all the sailors' intel. But this is particular measurements for 49er from Abu Dhabi equipment. And now think about it. Now we went to Abu Dhabi for 2 weeks, right? Everybody, lasers, R6s, 49ers, right? We went there, and now we have that quarantine situation. We don't know when we're gonna come back, but imagine that actually we would go there in June. Imagine, let's assume we're going there in June. And if you don't make those notes, how do you know what you were sailing on? Like, how do you remember the numbers? Like, how do you remember that was good or that was bad? No, we don't want that sail there because that mast is stiff. You have no idea. And then after 2 months of quarantine, you go for one of the most important regattas of the year, and without those notes, it's like 2 weeks of time just pass, and you did nothing. Thanks to those notes, those 2 weeks that we did, and all the team also worked for the weather things. We have them, I have them, in my notes. And then whenever we're going to go to Abu Dhabi, I'll just open the notes and I see, that team with this, that team with that. You have to do it, because otherwise you will lose it. When you write your thoughts down after a decent amount of time and repeatability, some of your good ideas shall become habits. And habits are exactly what pro athletes use most of the time. It's a very important sentence. After you will develop good habits, you start to feel more confident, less stressful, and in control of the surroundings. You also suddenly will possess more time to think about new things and focus on variable data like weather. Next slide, please. Becoming a habit. So whenever you write good things in the note, after sometimes they can become a habit. And now I'm going to tell you a short story. We're going to focus on the right side of the screen. Examples of good habits, you can see them later on if you want, but because we don't have too much time, I have to go on. Question: how often do you look for your wallet, watch, house keys, sailing gloves, shoes, whatever? I am not saying only in the regatta venue, but on like every day. How often do you look for something, or how often do you forget? How often does it take for you to go out of the flat? So now imagine that you are late to the club. That's particularly for racing day, right? You are late for the club because you overslept, no bedtime habit, no bedtime routine, sorry. And in quite a stress because your coach called you, races starts earlier. Instead of 12, they're going to be held on 10, for example, right? What a nasty surprise. No notice board habit. And yet you can't leave the house, you can't leave the flat, because keys are missing. You cannot find the keys. And not only the keys are missing, but you are not packed still and you are hungry. You didn't have a breakfast yet, no food habits. And you have no clue what is today weather forecast. No weather habit. Is it enough? Let's spice it up more. Oh my God, you planned to do some boat work in the morning. Horror. If I was there in that scenario a couple of times in my life, in my career, and after one such day, I just knew that I have to change it, not to repeat it, because that was a true horror. My heart almost like fell off the chest and beat and start beating on the ground. It's very, very, you don't want that. You don't want that to happen. So let's look on the opposite. How can we see it if you have good habits, what can happen? Please imagine now that your coach calls you with info, early racing today. So the same, coach calls you 10 o'clock, we're gonna race, not 12. But your sailing bag is packed because that is what you do after coming back from the morning warm-up. So you go for a morning warm-up, right? You stretch and then you come and you pack your bag because that's your habit. You do it every day. Yes, you are hungry. Maybe you don't. Why? Maybe because you don't want to eat breakfast after that running. You want to normally eat breakfast after half an hour. So the call is there and you are hungry. But you can handle it on the way because you prepared highly energetic meals for entire day in advance as usual. Sounds cool, right? Keys lie in the same spot. You leave them every day. Of course, you know the weather because you check it every day while stretching after the run, right? Because when you stretch, you lie on the ground, you do some poses, you stretch your body. You can always have your phone and you today weather. Good habit as well. Sure that your boat is ready. You never leave unattended business with your precious boat for the next day. So you actually never plan. You shouldn't plan okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow. No, tomorrow is tomorrow. Now we have time to make it happen. So tomorrow we have less stress. The only surprise is that the races are earlier, but you knew that might happen because every day your coach goes for the regatta briefing and lets you know any changes. So does that sound much better, right? I hope it does and you get my point. Habits are very good and that's a rule of a pro. If you don't have a habit, we have to develop one. And those are the habits that actually really help not only in a racing day, but also in normal life. Example of my personal, that all of those habits are mine as well, but one not so obvious. During the event, I was not looking at the result board. Only my crew Jack could check until the last day, of course. And guess why? Do you know why? Can you find a reason why I was not looking at the board? Like after races, I was not looking like, okay, 5 points, 10 points, 15 points. One thing is because of stress, but the second thing is that I tried and I worked very hard to make it happen. So every day is a fighting day. Every day I keep my routine, I keep my habits, I'm working hard, I'm doing my best, I'm trying, I'm finding the weather, I'm looking at everything possible, focusing on the water, racing as hard as I can. And the result is just a result of my hard work. So I wasn't judging my hard work by the result. It was just the result of the day. But sometimes it was better, sometimes it was worse. But I didn't want that. If there was a bad result, I didn't want that to have an impact on my hard work for the next day. And the third reason is that what I told you a couple of times ago already, is that there's no numbers on the course. So there is no names, no numbers like, oh my goodness, this is Peter Belling from New Zealand. I don't want to start close to him. This is just a boat. That's just a boat, this just a boat. And we're gonna work hard and we're gonna try hard without that names, right? To fight them. And when you have that approach, it's much better than when you, for example, you are fifth and then 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever the boats are there, right? And you see them on the line on the start and you are starting to think that those are the boats close to you. It doesn't matter because you have 60 more boats in the fleet. And maybe that today is not the day for those 4 that actually follow you in the result. Of course, that changes on the last day of racing, but until the last day, that was how I worked. That's a little bit of my habit for you. Next slide, please. Final touches before the regatta. Do you remember food is our fuel? We talked about it, right? So the boat is your racket. Polish it and foils before every major event. Wash it with sweet water and dry the bottom nicely after every day of racing. Take care of the scratches and dents. Replace all doubtable lies and blocks. So if you have that thought that something can break, don't leave it. Just change it, but don't do it on the last day before regatta. So regatta and the last day and you're changing. No, you have to do it here to be able to check on the water if it's really working, and then you're good to go for racing. Change sheets for racing ones. You should have 2 sets of sheets. One is a training, one is particularly for racing, and you put racing one for racing, and then you know that they can endure them all, they are new, and so on and so on. Check the gasket if you have one. Mast check, spreaders, halyards every day. You don't leave it. You don't just wash your boat, put the cover, and go home. No. If you do it 100% at some very important point for you, the boat will say, today I will break, and something will break. And then you will be like, oh my goodness, we almost got ourselves to the gold fleet, but our block got destroyed. Look for your harness. When was the last time you replaced your hook? So if you are a double dinghy or skiff, right, you use harnesses. So when actually you put attention to that metal piece that you hook in, it's also breaking. And the same for the loops in the trapeze lines. They are also breaking. You have to replace them as well. Dry the sails properly. Proceed with preparation methodically. Don't leave it for the last day. Don't do it because a lot of stress. And again, you will not check it on the water. Remember to water check the boat after the measurement day. So the measurement day is like a very big day for you because you have to unrig everything and pack again. Rig again. So you don't just rig it and leave it. You have to go on the water, hoist the kite, sail a little bit, make a couple of maneuvers, and see if everything is the same. If it does, great. And here in that table, you can see the differences in the surface of the boat. If it's actually polished, how big differences there are in roughness ratio. That's a long topic as well. It's not today, but just if you take a look, wet sanded gel coat is 0.5 and new polished gel coat, so when you polished, is 0.2. And that's a quite big difference if you make the amount of square meters that you have on a wetted surface. It just, believe me, it's a lot. So whenever you polish, it's already 1%, 2% of your speed more. Next slide, please. Spare equipment bag. It's a must-have. It's one of your habits that you have to develop. Everybody has to do it. And we also in Mumbai, when we were training, I tried to make our sailors to put the bag in. If they didn't have it, they were not training. Because sometimes, many times actually happened that we went on the water and suddenly something break. But it's a small thing, like a bungee, or like some line is just snapping out. And if you would have it on tender, on the rib with the coach, no problem. You put your boat on the rib, 1 minute, and you're good to go. But if you don't have the bag, if you don't have the equipment with you, and you have to go on the shore, and you have to replace it, and then you're coming back after 1 hour when the training is already gone. So you're losing a lot of time. So inside the bag, sheet lines, jib cleat, blocks, spectra, trapeze ring, turnbuckles, bungees, full rig trapeze line, multitask tool, and spanners. Because sometimes you have to make some adjustment. There is a pin, you have to switch it, and you have to have that tools to make it done. Coaches should have them. I mean, coaches should have those, but you also have to do it because that's your responsibility. A part of that bag, spare bag, you have harness, gloves, warm clothing, and food bag. My goodness, I will never forget France year regatta, when I went for racing with very short sleeve, and my coach was asking actually, like, are you sure you want to go with the short one because it's going to be cold? I was like, no, it's fine. And the wind picked up from from 5 knots to 20, and the water was freezing. I spent 4 hours on 470, and I was almost freezed to death. After that, I always remember to have my warm clothes on the rib. Next slide. Food and drink bag. Your energy and focus, right? We discussed that on previous presentation. It's very important, but it's not only that it's important, but to me as a coach and to everybody else around you, your teammates and so on, it looks pro. It looks, if you make that happen, if you make that bag and you are actually prepared with the gels, with bars, with shakes, with water mixed with minerals and some food, it looks like a pro. So it means you're thinking about your performance, you're thinking about the day, and you just are prepared. The bag is not difficult. You properly balanced meal, normally light, not to lie down on your stomach, so with easy absorption carbs, before racing, after racing, however you like it. Energy bars and gels, particularly for the water. Supplements, if you wish, other supplements. You can use also small shots like guarana shots or whatever you like, some pills sometimes like magnesium or whatever if you have shaky hands or if you have a crunch. Fruits and veggies, protein shake or any other smoothie that you actually make yourself with freshly fruits, vegetables, but it's a thick liquid. So you actually drink it, but it's like mixed. It has a lot of calories and it's very good, especially after training. No, and of course, water mixed with minerals and carbs. As we discussed, hydration is very important for you. So water is good for hydration, but because you sweat a lot and you burn out, you transport away a lot of minerals, so you have to put them in. And carbs are good because carbs in the water will just boost your energy a lot quickly. They will be very quickly absorbed by your body and you will keep keep going. You will be able to go for another 1 hour or even more. Next slide, please. Final checklist. This is just an example. It's a habit. It's as well. It's in the habits, checklist is a must. It's without the checklist, you're not looking like as a pro. If you work 20 years with the same checklist, so maybe you don't have to have it in a paper. But if you are developing, if you're improving, if you're forgetting things, you have to have a checklist. And you can either make it for the shore or you can make it for the water. For the shore examples is like, is the content of the spare bag okay? So someone actually has to look inside the bag and see like, okay, we done. Nice. Because sometimes you forget about putting some important piece in the bag and you think the bag is fine, but then on the water, you're like, oh my God, it's not there. It should be. Checklist. Trapeze ring check. So the thing you hook in, right? Someone has to check it, but if you don't have it, tick, 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 then who has to do it? Was it done? When was it done? If you have a checklist, everything is just, you ask yourself, Jack, did you do it? Yes. Okay, fine. Did we do that? Did we do that? Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. And then you build your confidence because you feel everything was done. Everything is fine. The boat is ready. If something happens on the water and you find that you didn't check that piece, you just write it down. And then your checklist becomes a little bit longer. But next time, for 1 more year, for 2 years, this thing will not happen. If you don't write it down, for sure it will happen again at some point. Next slide, please. Okay. It's already 40 minutes. This is example. I'm by habits and by routine. I would like to give you that example, particularly how I worked. But please note that every day it's regatta day for me, and I will also suggest it for you very strongly. Excuse me. You cannot change your habits. You should not change your habits. You should not make a special thing for regatta. You can, of course, because regatta is a little bit more crowded. There's a little bit more things going on, so you can have special adjustments. But it should be like, for example, I will give you an example. Normally you wake up at 8, right? 8 o'clock. And then regatta, you will wake up at 6:30. Suddenly. Your body will be shocked. The body will not know what's happening. It will be like, oh my goodness, it's 6:30. Oh. So you should act in advance. You should prepare your day in the way that when regatta comes, boom, just another day. The same. You don't have any stressful situations. You are ready. You're prepared. Your body knows what's going on. So morning, 6:30, wake up, warming and stretching, food cooking and food bag preparation, breakfast plus weather. I had that always. I was eating. I was slowly reading the weather. I had meditation every day. Every single day I meditated, especially after breakfast, because then I felt comfortable and full, and I could go in the bed and I felt even more like relaxed and so on. But meditation variance depended on how I felt. If I felt stressful, then I had very calm. If I felt that I'm still sleepy, I had a little bit more active and so on. Walk to the club. Sorry, I have to, no, it's a little bit warm. I'm getting sweaty. Okay, forget. I walked to the club. That was very important habit for myself because during that walk, I was thinking about everything I'm going to do in the racing today. I was building a strategy. I was visualizing and so on with music, earphones on. 10 o'clock coach information. So I went to the club and then coach was like, okay, at the briefing we had that. Racing starts at 12. Weather is like this. Okay, fine. Checklist at 10:10. So tick, 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 and then ready and standby. 10:30, because 12, we're going to go for, so 11, I'm going to lunch on the water. We're going to lunch on the water because 12 racing. After racing, normally if you go at 12, you spend 3.5, 4 hours on the water. 6 o'clock, mealtime protest board. So you eat and you go for a notice board. Mast, lines, block, checks, bottom, and fully everything. So whatever I had to do in the boat, whatever it was, I was doing it then, not to leave it for the next day in the morning and so on. No, whatever line has to be replaced, I was doing it now. Walk home again. So now the opposite, not what I want to do, but what I did I was thinking, visualizing, remembering the moments in the racing and so on, music on. 6:30, so 18:30, notes from the day. So I made notes as we discussed. And then at 7, team chat. So me and Jack, blah, 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 together. We did, you did that, I did that, we did that. We should improve in a way that we should change. We were late on the start. So the start was bad from the pin. We didn't check the bias and so on and so on. So writing down, and then next day at 9:30 in the morning, notes in front of my eyes and thinking, okay, so last day we did that. Okay, I'm going to improve it. We're going to do that. Okay, fine. That's how you can do it. The other things doesn't work as efficient as this. Body rolling and stretching at 9:45, at 8 o'clock in the afternoon, overall breathing, and at 9, chill time. So if you actually look at the day, where is the time for yourself? Where is the time for, I don't know, for chilling? No time, because there's no time. If you really are taking things seriously, you don't have too much time in the day. Like, you just do your stuff. You just improve. You just push. Work hard. Next slide, please. Pre-start routine. In the beginning, we also use the checklist. Yeah, because you have a couple of points. You can, of course, that's my checklist. That's my pre-start routine. Of course, yours can be different. You can have more things on or less things on and so on. It's up to you. You can make whatever you like. While sailing to the racing area. So when you are sailing upwind or downwind, whatever, boat feeling. So how you feel, trim adjustments, compass reading, because the wind is varying. So you want to know, okay, left port, starboard tack, 245 degrees, port tack, 350 degrees, right? So you want to know what kind of direction the wind is coming. Few speed runs, so with your sparring partners, with your team members, to check if your speed is fine. Wind oscillation observations, how the shifts are coming, is it only 5 degrees or maybe 20, and so on. Couple of warm-up maneuvers, always, like couple of tacks just to make yourself feel comfortable on the boat. At the racing course, sailing at least one side, left or right, to see how the wind pattern is looking like. Confidence hoist, I called it confidence hoist because we actually felt as a confidence hoist. So if you put up the kite, spinnaker, whatever you have as a third sail downwind, you are checking if the sheets are well attached, if the halyard is fine, if the bowsprit goes out, and so on. And then you know that is actually going to work in the race. And then you nicely drop it precisely. So you know that in the race, the first hoist, the important first hoist after rounding the windward mark, is going to be cool. It's going to be good because you worked for it, you prepared it. Open strategy discussion. So we always chat what's going to happen, how we're going to make it, left, right, what we're going to look for in the race. Coach boat breathing. So we sat on the boat and then five minutes, probably maximum 5 minutes, chit chat. Coach was saying current left, current from that direction, wind from that direction. And we were discussing putting that to our open strategy from the third point, right? Start line bias check, transit check, side decision in the end, and final trim decision. So if we're gonna stay or if we're gonna, but trim decision, I mean one turn, like just small, very, very tiny adjustments, tiny, not big changes. And then start sequence, so 5 minutes. And then I'm not putting a start sequence here because it's entirely different topic and it takes a lot of time. So start sequence. Next slide, please. Avoid and prevent. My goodness, it's 50. Do I have still time? Can I continue? It's almost done.
Yeah. Please go on.
Avoid and prevent. You have to learn it. You have to learn it and you have to feel it sometimes on your own skin, because now you can think, yeah, I know. No, you don't. You don't know how it feels to fight for very important like qualifiers, right? You fight for the nation to qualify in Olympics, and then because you are too greedy, you are not avoiding and you're not preventing, you're losing the race. And it's not your opponent mistake. It's your mistake that you didn't prevent it. And you are you're capsizing because you were too close, or you are breaking your tiller, or you're tearing apart your sail because you actually touched your like this with other boat. It's not only their fault because you were right of way. You have to think in advance. You have to avoid. Look at that scenario on the windward mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boats. And everybody's like, what is going on? Like, do you really want to scream room and whatever happened, just go? No, you're looking on other boats and you're letting them go. You want to be safe here. So you're not fighting for that 2-3 meters. You're just keeping the distance, making everybody take the mark. And that's the best way you can do it. If you hit someone, even while right of way, doesn't that mean you may break or destroy something or injure yourself? So what we said already apart, because you will lose in that race probably, but what is more, if you break anything, that means more time in the boat park. So after you come off the racing, right, you have to spend time to repair it. And then instead of doing that, you already know my plan. So instead of going home, walking and visualizing my racing day, you have to stay 1 more hour in the boat park because you have to replace. And it's your fault. Your fault. You made that happen, because if you would avoid it, everything will be fine. If you break a rule, make a penalty. That's a must, ladies and gentlemen. You don't, if you know you broke a rule, sometimes you don't, but if you know you broke a rule, always make a penalty. In 80% of cases, by fighting for that 5 meters, here, that's a good picture. Look, 5 meters, right? If you fight for that 5 meters, you will lose 50 or more. There's no logic in it. Completely no logic. You don't fight for very risky 5 meters if you can avoid a jeopardy situation. Look around you. So that's good. If you can look around you to assume what may happen and to think a little bit in advance. So don't be shocked like this, because if you're shocked, it's not normally, it means you are already too late to react. So you have to see, you have to look around to know what's going to happen. Next slide. Very important, very important. If you now take the day I showed you, right? Particularly, that's why I did that. I showed you my day. So from 6:30 till 10 p.m. there's no break, almost. Like you just go all the way, and that's every day, repeatable, every day. On the water, boat park, thinking, writing, breathing, the same. So when do you actually rest? Exactly. If you have that kind of routine, if you push that hard, so it's very important also that you take rest. You take rest then, but you take it with that smile on your face. You worked 5 days, like really, really hard, and now you have 2 days of whatever you want to do. So overworking and performance regression, burnout point, are a very common precedent in sport. Don't forget to rest well, sleep, and let your body and mind free from time to time. So float away, lie in bed, whatever you want to do, but it's important. Discussed habits, which we discussed in that presentation, and routine are our goals. So you want to have it to prevent stressful situations, build confidence, and to finally act as a pro, to be feeling that your work is paying off and you are getting there, you are making better results, you feel comfortable, you fight for your goals and so on. But too much tension can lead to overload, and instead of compensation, we can approach regression. We don't want that. It's in sport, in physical sport, especially when you are worn out, your performance just go like this. So you have to work, and then there has to be a time for you to rest. Remember then to have fun in all that process, keep smiling, and reserve a small part of the time for silly, crazy things as well. As you can see on the picture, that was a little bit crazy. We played Santas in one of the regattas. Next slide, please. Last advice for today's session, additional experience. So I'm just going to be very quick. I encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to sail it's not, excuse me, it's not related to our topic so tight, but I encourage you to sail on as many different kind of classes as you can. Whenever you have opportunity, whenever someone invites you to sail with them on different class, is it a yacht or is it a NACRA 49er or is it just an opportunity, use it, because whenever you switch a class, it's going to be benefiting your experience, your point of view, your perspective. And if you look at the best sailors in the world, they all do it. So they are not putting their minds only in one boat, but whenever they can, they are switching. Like from 49er to NACRA, from laser to a skiff, from laser to a yacht, from RS6 board to kite, and so on and so on. It's very good for you. It's going to keep you improving, and it's going to mentally, you're going to mentally evolve, and you're going to be more open. You're going to see a bigger perspective, and that's the only way also to quickly get to the level which, when you know that, when you can do those skills in sailing at high level, all of them. Thank you very much. Sorry for the timing. That was quite a long presentation, but as you could see, many things on. Not all of them were detailed, yeah, but I will send you presentations if you want, so you can get step by step a little bit more. Questions, please.
Yep. So first question is from Preeta of NSS Bhopal, and it asks, which is the best technique to check or to decide which side of the course to go to before the start?
First of all, weather forecast, right? If you have a precise weather forecast, so you will know that at particular time, the wind will go to the right-hand side. Then, excuse me, then while you are sailing to that side, left to right, no, when you are sailing upwind on the race course already, you judge what you see on the compass with the weather forecast that you had. And you know that weather forecast is very accurate now. If it's accurate, then it means that probably it might be accurate also in half an hour. So the wind will change to the right. So the forecast is important as well. As for the technique, with very fast boats and like skiff and 470, it's a little bit more difficult to cross. But if you are, sorry, excuse me, if you are a little bit slower boat, like Laser, Optimus, 47, but 470 and 49 as well, you can do it. It's not a bad thing. You can go 1 minute to one of the sides. So boom, you take a signal with your friend, you go to one of the sides, and after 1 minute, you make a tag. 1 minute, 2 minutes, however you like it, how much time you have until the start. And then you cross. And when you cross, you see that, okay, right-hand side was better. If you have time, you can do it. One more time. The same thing goes for the starting line. So on this, you can talk to your friend from the team, and at a particular time, you're going to start from the starting line, and see which end is biased, right? So make sure that actually pin is better or commit is better. That's the best way. If you are single, if you are alone, then as I discussed before, you have to look at the compass, you have to look at gas, and you have to predict with the weather. Next question, please.
Next question again from Nani Raja of NSS. What should we look for in a 5-minute start? What should we look for during the 5 minutes pre-start?
That's, as you could see, I didn't mention it because that's a very long process and there are many things in it.
So maybe we could have, you could just probably list out 2 or 3, and then we'll have a special starting topic later.
I think if you allow me, I will make one more presentation, particularly for that start procedure and so on. And
sure.
So you know what, I will actually involve that start procedure in next Tuesday presentation. Okay.
Sure. Thanks very much, Nani. You've got your answer. What would you recommend as a typical warm-up routine before racing on race day? A warm-up routine. Let's say somebody wakes up at 6 o'clock. What should be the routine?
I was running for 25 minutes and then stretching, and cruise, because I'm not a cruise, so I wasn't working too much with my back. But crews who have that hoist movement or who have different movements on the boat can develop a little bit more precisely for their actions. But running in the morning and stretching was fine for me, and I never felt like very stiff or something. So that actually worked for me.
Okay, so no, just running and stretching, no exercises. What would you see as a typical warm down and between races? I mean, you have 30, 40 minutes sometimes between races, and what should a sailor do on the boat?
First of all, eating, hydrating, resting. So you have to put a very thick line. You finish the race, you chat with the coach, you know what you did, you have that in mind, done, finish. Right? Then you completely, you shake yourself, you chill. You have many ways to do it. You can massage your face to relax a little bit, many things, but that's the next topic. You chill, you eat, you hydrate, and then the same. So procedure to the start happens again. Checklist, as we discussed, checklist, same. It's one race is gone, now another race. So again, you can go to the sides, you can check the bias, you can check the transit, you can check weather forecast with what's happening on the water. So to every single race, I was preparing as it's just a new day, new race, everything. And if you do it, then you feel that confidence because you're not shocked. Sometimes you don't have time, unfortunately, but if you have, I would go step by step with the checklist.
Would you recommend any stretching between races?
Stretching between races? No, I've never had time for stretching between races. No. I mean, stretching, sorry, as I told you, stretching particular muscles, yes, but like you cannot stretch your back or you're not gonna be able to. You are in wetsuit, in harnesses, I mean, in my person, on 49er, right? But I was, for example, stretching my face muscles. I was doing a little bit of, and I was taking deep breaths and then holding them a little bit inside and then releasing to stretching my breathing muscles here, the abdominals and the front. I don't know how to call it in English, but not the chest, but the thing inside that you actually breathe with. So I was stretching that piece. So head and breathing muscles. So then I'm more relaxed and I'm more focused. I put more oxygen to my body. So I'm better. I'm thinking better. I can take more information in.
Next question is from Harshita Tomar of NSS Bhopal. How can we prepare mentally before start on the water? And how do we calm down the nerves before a start? And I think I'll extend this question to also talk about if you've had a bad race, how do you recover from that race mentally? That is, let's assume you're having 3 races a day or 4 races a day, and between races, if you had one bad race, how do you mentally recover? And what is the mental preparation one needs to do before a start?
It's very individual. It's a difficult question to answer in short time, but I will try. First of all, if you have that routine, if you have that checklist, and if you work in the way, as we discussed in that presentation, so if you work in the way that the result is the result of your hard work, the number you actually, the finish line, right? When you cross and you are 10th. So you shouldn't think about the number. You should never count. That's also why I was not looking on the board, because I wasn't counting at 10 points. So it gives us 35 plus 10. No, one race is gone. The effort we did allowed us to finish on the 10th. So now, whatever the result, there's another race. So I need to work hard to accomplish my goals, to have that checklist, to prepare for the race, to know which side I want to go, to have a strong strategy, to know the current, to know the line bias. If I know those things and still I sail bad in that race, maybe bad luck, maybe a little bit too slow boat, but I don't feel very bad with myself because I really worked. I really did work hard. So what you feel a little bit more depressed whenever it's just like, oh, let's sail. And then you just, oh, let's say you go to the right, but then left is stronger. And after the race, you have remorse. So, I should have checked before the start, the left side. I didn't check the line. Actually, the start was better from the pin and so on. So we don't want that. We don't want that. If you will work with the routine, with the habits, and with the checklist, you will not have that. Result, forget it. Okay, but if you still have those heartbeat right and you feel bad about the race, best you can do is to breathe. Oxygen is always helping. I was, for example, like I just discussed, I was massaging my face, and what helped me really good was that I took a breath inside, a couple of deep breaths, and then I was tensioning all my body, like all my muscles with that oxygen inside, and deeply releasing it. That was one of the best exercises I could do for myself, to get that quickly, feel that a little bit like, oh, release. And then after, if I was very nervous, and when I did those couple of exercises and massaged my face, I was like, okay, toss aside that race, it's finished. Now again, checklist, and let's go. But remember, if you will stick to the point that result at the finish line, it doesn't matter. It's how hard you work and what you actually do that gives you that confidence. Because bad luck is a normal thing. Sometimes it happens. You wanted to go to the right, you controlled 20 boats on the right, you had a good start, and then suddenly a big shift on the left comes. And you are first on the right-hand side, but 15 boats from the left are in front of you. So what can you do? You shouldn't be even thinking about it. That shouldn't completely impact your happiness or your race completely. You had nothing to do with it. That was a little bit of unpredictability, a little bit of bad luck, and so on. But you did. That's why if you make that checklist and you make it done, you can feel good, even if something goes bad. Next question.
That's all for now, folks, and we've already done the presentation. Thanks very much, Tom. I think we don't have questions, and we will come on Tuesday at 10 o'clock at the same time. In case there's a change of timing, we will inform you on WhatsApp. So please tell all your friends and everybody who are coming onto this to come onto the WhatsApp group. And before we close, there will be a poll. And just before we close, I will also send you the link to the WhatsApp group where you have to register with your name so that the security is much higher. And thanks very much, guys. All the best. And here, thanks, Tom. Thanks very much. And here's the poll.
Thank you very much as well. Have a good Sunday. See you on Tuesday. Thanks for taking part in the presentation. Have a wonderful day. And stay safe.